Greetings and welcome to Wachari Nation Building Monday Live.
We have the trees to fulfill the contracts that we already have.
Every time God show me a plant, I can see that plant everywhere.
We are descended from a people that have always been independent.
Basically, it's 34 plants that we want to return to be cultivated in the different communities.
Welcome to Wachari Nation Building Monday Live. It is our pleasure, as always, to be with you. I am Ifasina Efunyemi. Thanks for joining us.
Good night. Welcome once again to another Monday, another episode. And tonight, as per usual, let's start off with our music video, our music. And we have Andy Palacio with Ámuñegü.
Kaba funasa anyuga wabute Ámuñegü. Kaba funasa ayanu hagari funanuma Ámuñegü. Kaba funasa aruma hanuma o Ámuñegü. Kaba funasa adugraha wawu Ámuñegü. Julu halida lula reida ho. Julu halida lula rufuda ho. Julu halida lula reida ho. Fedi wanyali kumukubaye. Kaba funasa anyuga wabute Ámuñegü. Kaba funasa ayanu hagari funanuma Ámuñegü. Kaba funasa aruma hanuma o Ámuñegü. Kaba funasa adugraha wa o Ámuñegü. Agenda guatia wayunago luhabagarito kegari nago wagia mesa aferidire wagabure matega wame.
Yes.
Hey.
Andy.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I love hearing his voice.
Kaba
Kaba funasa. You know, I remember when Andy came out of the studio and he had just recorded this song. I remember the day because he was supposed to come out like around noon and then he didn't come out till about 4 or 5 o'clock. And he wanted to explain to me why he was late. And he stuck, we went to a restaurant and I just remember him sticking an earphone, one piece in my ear and one piece in his ear. And he hit play and he said, I want you to hear why I was late. Because he was really late and I was very angry. And when I heard Kaba Funasa, I was just reduced to tears. He also shared Watina and all the other songs that he was working on. And I thought, this man is a genius. This man, little did we know that he wouldn't be with us very long after that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very honored to be a part of his life.
Yeah, this was definitely a masterpiece of his. Mm-hmm. And I remember the days when he produced cassettes. Some people might not even be familiar with what cassettes look like, let
Yeah.
alone playing a cassette, right? But when he used to produce his music on cassettes, he would come and visit with us since he was my mother's younger brother. He was our uncle, so he would bring his music for us to enjoy essentially. And so he would make sure my mom got a copy of what he produced. And well, we miss that opportunity now because he's he's only here in spirit. He's not here
Mhm.
to give us a CD or a flash drive or however it now goes with the way music is produced. But what he left with that particular album was truly a prize,
Yeah.
and the lyrics, the what the call to action is so
Mm.
timely and so very important. And I believe we will be asking that question for some time until we get our young people fully engaged and ready with the information and the skills to then keep it going, keep all of it going that he spoke about, keep Garifuna Duo alive. So what we're doing is important work, and we're answering his call to action by making sure our people are aware of our traditional herbs and the work that we do as a people. So I give
Mhm.
thanks. Perfect selection for tonight,
Yes.
Marley.
Thank you, Marley.
Yep.
That was perfect. I wasn't expecting Kaba Funasa. So, what does it mean for those of our listeners who don't understand Garifuna and could understand it better? What he's singing about is who will sing my songs for me?
Uh-huh. Who will make my area for me?
Right.
Right? Who will
Right.
lead the biggest ceremony?
Yes.
I remember Andy Palacio performing at King Cassava in Hopkins. When they were doing a country tour,
Mhm.
and it was a small place, packed with people, and he was speaking my language. He was talking to me, right? Um, I was so shocked, and at that time I was writing a song called Harasa. Around the same time, I was writing a song called Harasa, and it was like he was saying the things that I wish I have said, that I wish I had put in my song, because that's the truth. That's the man. He's saying exactly what I should be saying. He was right. He Kaba Funasa Yawo, you know? So Andy is a legend. He's a legend.
Yes.
He's a legend.
He was a legend in his own time. Even while he was alive, he was a legend.
Yeah.
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 A
All
little
right.
bittersweet. Yeah.
I know.
Now make us happy again, Marley.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tonight we, as usual, we have to feature, we must, it's our mandate, and we're reminded of that mandate by your selection tonight, Marley. And that is ensuring that there is continuity by passing on the knowledge. So, Doc is here with us as usual with her richness of knowledge, and we are going to be talking about basing. That's what we call it traditionally as Kerinogu. Basil is the name known internationally, and it is an important herb, just like the lemuro, just like the ruda, just like the walelama, and all the others that we make sure are available in our communities. The basing is very flavorful, and as Doc will share with us, it has so many wonderful properties. So, Doc, I know that our viewers, they are, as always, looking forward to learning more from you about our traditional herbs. So, welcome, and let's hear
It's
about basing.
my pleasure to share. And I wanted to write Basse for the entire thing, but then I started seeing it interchangeably. And I'm so glad we're using the Garifuna word for it because I always knew it as Basse. And I thought that Basse and basil were two different plants.
Mm.
Till I learned that, oh, this is our basil. This is our common basil. So, for those of us who don't recognize it, I want you to take a good look at this picture. It's a very common plant. In fact, the name of our basil is common basil. All the other basils have special names, but our basil is called common basil. And it happens to be the most medicinal basil that exists in the ethnobotanical pharmacopoeia. So it's a good tonic for the treatment of nervous disorders and stress related headaches, migraines, and allergies. You didn't know that, did you? And you can take it as a tea, which is effective in cases of constipation, nausea, vomiting, and cramps. As you notice, it is an herb that we use for digestion a lot. But it's also good for menstrual problems, cramps. It's used to relieve scanty periods and normalizing menses. So, yes, it does help in regulating the female cycle. It also minimizes uric acid in the blood. So it relieves gout. For those of us who have gout and taking all these expensive treatments and medications to handle gout, you can just do basil tea to help assist your body in getting rid of the uric acid. Now, basil you can also make into oil very, very easily. You just take those seeds, the dry seeds and the dry leaves, and you soak them in oil, and that any oil, olive oil, coconut oil, whatever. But that oil is useful in arthritis. You can use it as a liniment, as well as on the skin with any skin problem to control acne or rashes or itching or anything. In general, it refreshes the skin and can also be used as an anti itch ointment for insect bites, no-see-ums, Dr. flies, and so on. So you can use the herb in a warm bath, and it can help again relieve gout and arthritis. But this is how you would use it. You can make a strong basil tea and put it in your bath to use it to alleviate all of these ailments.
This part that you talked about with the regulation of the menstruation, I first time I'm hearing that one.
Yes, we use it for menses for alleviating pain, but it's mostly a digestive and something to that calms the nerves. But what I wanted to talk about mostly is the oil, the basil oil, which is very easy to make. Of course, you can press the oil from seeds, from cold press
Mhm.
from basil seeds, but you can also make the oil yourself. You just soak the plant, the aerial parts, the seeds, and the aromatic parts in any kind of oil, and then you have yourself some really good oil. It's very good for the headaches and the migraine just by anointing the head. But in terms of how it helps us spiritually, it's very uplifting. If you're depressed or if you're grieving, the basil is very good for uplifting the mood. It's also good for when you're angry, but it works in on men, like for male anger. And you would find
What?
that when a husband comes home and he's angry or he's had a hard day at work and he's all frustrated and stuff, whatever you cook for him, put basil in there, whether it's a salad or a piece of meat or a tortilla or a pizza, whatever it is, the basil will help him dissipate that anger. It's a very uplifting plant. It's also an antidepressant. It lifts the spirit. So, secondarily, physically, it's good for digestive disorders, ranging from nausea to hiccups, and for infections in the respiratory tract. Just the aroma of basil is enough to heal. It's used for wasp and insect bites, not just any mosquito bites, but wasps are particularly a particular nuisance. So the basil is very specific for wasp bites. It's also good for mosquitoes, but what works on mosquito bites doesn't always work on wasp bites.
Mhm.
Bites.
And what
Bite.
about so just about any insect bite? But I
Yeah.
had heard about it for like ear infections. Is that true?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Now my grandmother mixed the basil with tobacco, and she would blow the smoke into the ear, and something about it, it would just heal ear infections.
Oh,
Now, I also know of other cultures that take the leaf and crush it up and put it in the ear like a cotton ball,
Mm-hmm.
and just the aroma, again, it heals through air, through the aroma. So just the aroma of the basil is enough to go in there and start having an antibacterial and antiseptic effect.
Wow. This is a
Oh,
lot.
I
This is
heard
a
of people
lot.
using it for pink eye, the basil
oh
seed.
yes. Well, let me tell you about the pink eye. It's the seed of the basil that you would use. Now you can use the hardened seed, but the way my grandmother used it, she would take the seed when it's still white. So you would take the green pod of the basil seed, take the little. It's like a little white. It looks almost like half a grain of rice, and it's flat. So you take that and you put it in your eye, and as soon as you feel it in your eye, it starts secreting from the tear ducts. So your eye starts to wash itself, and all the bacteria and all the infractions in your eye start to come out. So when you have pink eye, the basil seed in your eye actually kills the pink eye and takes out all of the infected mucus from the pink eye. It's one of the fastest working pink eye remedies I have ever seen in my village.
A question: which this basil is which basil?
Only
That's
the Garifuna basil. I am not speaking of any other basil. Please do not ask me about any other basil. I am speaking about the ones that my ancestors transferred to me. And that is the Garifuna basil found in all Garifuna communities. It's also known as the common basil.
okay. Could you repeat that?
It's the
The
Garifuna basil,
uh-huh. Also known as the
common basil.
common basil. All
Common,
right.
as if to say you ain't
Yeah,
nothing.
it's this is the one that's most used. This one most popular. This is the one that's everywhere. It's not
Mm.
exotic. It's not it's gonna
Nothing fancy.
and it grows easily on its own, right? Like once you have
It's
one, it's gonna
probably the most
populate.
unattractive, the simplest. It's like us, it's just a simple plant. It's not fancy because the basil did not use its powers into looking good. The basil used all of its powers into producing healing medicine for people. So it didn't waste any of its resources in looks and other things. But to
We have
us,
a
it's very attractive.
we have a comment. My experience as a young asthmatic child, I would desperately
Mm,
pluck some basil that was
mm.
easily available in our yard, squish the green leaves together until it is juicy and green. I would then chew the moist leaves, and for some reason, my wheezing would subside.
Yes, because we use it for allergies. We use it for headaches, migraines, and allergies.
Wow. And then we cook with it too.
Of course, we cook with it, but you know why we cook with it? Because our ancestors knew that there is an agent in basil that actually retards the rotting of meat. So it will protect your food. Remember, we didn't have refrigerators.
No, correct, correct.
And remember how our mothers used to let the food sit on the stove and the next day it would still be fresh? It didn't go bad. But you notice now you cook beans, in a few hours it goes bad. Or meat, it'll rot if you let it sit overnight. Well, when we cooked with an abundant basil, it would serve as a retardant, as a food preservative. And nowadays, basil is used, the chemical in basil is used to preserve meat. So it can protect you from all of the diseases that come from rotten meat. And it can also preserve your meat.
Interesting, Doc.
But check it out. We are meat as well. So when we take basil in or use it as an oil topically, we are actually retarding the aging of our own cells. So in that respect, it has an anti-aging,
Yeah.
antioxidant, rejuvenating property,
Uh-huh.
right?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
That's true.
A question here is about the medicinal properties would those also apply for the purple basil?
I'm only speaking of the Garifuna basil. I'm a transmitter of our ancestral medicinal traditions. So I am only speaking of the Garifuna basil, the common basil.
Mhm.
Okay. So teas, baths.
Yep.
Let me pull up this other slide because I see you have a slide
Teas,
here.
baths, oils, poultices, applications, food, spices, recado, right? It's good for all of that stuff. Now, the basil, like as an oil or however way you use it, whether in a bath or whatever, you can use it to control acne and it refreshes the skin. Now, we had some students here from, was it Galen University, Marley? And they put the seed
Yeah.
in their eye and they could feel how refreshing it is. It washes out your tear ducts. So whatever bacteria is in there comes out. And it does the same thing to the pores of your skin when you use it in a bath. And it's useful for arthritis because it's also analgesic, so it relieves pain. It's just no end to the things that our ancestors knew.
This one has a speechless duck. This
Well,
one.
check it out. Oh, just one more thing. All right. So now we go to the digestive system. So we did the
Yes.
skin, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
the organ that works with the liver. So you know already that basil is a good liver medicine because it works on the skin so well. It detoxifies the skin, detoxifies the tear ducts. But it's also effective in cases of constipation, nausea, vomiting, and cramps.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking
Eileen is saying
we put
her
it and we
grandmother
flavor our
used
food
the
with it, but it's also doing all these things, helping
Yes.
with our digestion of this
Yes.
food.
Yes.
um here a comment here. Feline is saying her grandmother used the basil seeds for cataract.
Yes, you can use exactly. You put the seed in your eye. It's not just pink eye, but also cataracts, any kind of obstruction, because cataracts are made stronger by poor circulation. And the basil seed in your eye increases circulation. It opens up the blood vessels so that air and energy can flow through there. It has a spiritual it has spiritual properties as well where it clears the mind. So basil is good to smell it before prayer so that you can detoxify your mind from polluting thoughts. So it's a good way to prepare the mind to go into sacred space. It also relieves intellectual fatigue. Listen very carefully. Intellectual fatigue. Those of us who read too much or
So
read a
it's
lot,
stimulating
yes,
the
but in a
brain,
good
it stimulates
way.
the brain.
Yes, it gives clarity and mental strength.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have another plant that does that. But we, Garinago, have been using this basil like crazy ever since I can remember. This is our plant. And it's disparaged by spices, by restaurants, by culinary chefs, by the entire restaurant profession. It's like, oh, that's so low, it's lowly, it's like a ghetto basil. That's why I react the way I do when someone's
But
asking
it's
me
a
about
powerful one. It's
right.
very valuable.
Not
And
only
the
is it
best things don't always have all this
they
the
don't always look pretty.
fanfare. Like you said, it put its
Yeah,
power in in the medicinal properties, not
exactly.
the
Our basil,
appearance.
our basil didn't waste time on just looks.
Hmm.
He wants to be effective, gives clarity and mental strength. Can you imagine? Just the aroma of it. This is the power of the aroma of basil. So whenever you see a basil, our common basil, take a sprig, take a leaf, crush it, cup it in your hands and inhale it and clear your mind. Relax your mind, relieve your intellectual fatigue. Now, the relief of intellectual fatigue means that you could be as smart as Ifa. You could be sharp. It makes your mind really sharp. Sometimes our kids become really dun dun, because of the food that they eat, or they're not thinking, or the little video games. Put some basil in their food. Let them smell basil. Have them go out into the garden and just smell the leaf.
Brain food.
It's brain,
Wow.
yeah, just the aroma now. You see how powerful it is? So we use it to help increase concentration. Like when you have the cases like ADD, or with the mind, or even um, memory problems, where the mind isn't really up to snuff. Basil is your plant, just the aroma, but you can also take the tea
Hmm.
to clear your mind. So that's the mind thing, but it also clears your respiratory tract.
This is a good one to share with teachers. This
If
is
you
right
have,
now
it's a
we're
yes,
dealing with
yes,
exams and
yes,
marking assignments or preparing students for CSEC exams and so on.
yes,
So this is the kind of, many people turn to, for example, coffee
yeah.
or some energy
Hmm.
drink to keep
Hmm.
themselves energized to do this work. But it's good to know there is this herb that you can do that with,
Yes.
and so you don't have to deal with the side effects of the other stuff.
Yes, and
you know
it's a quick
Damaging.
as it's if you're having a mild asthma attack, like I'm partly asthmatic, and just due to allergies, the basil alleviates. It just takes away my asthma attack because it relaxes my lungs. So it's often used as an asthma remedy, but also for bronchitis and sinus infection. Like Marley, share your experience where you had a sinus infection and how the basil worked for you.
Yes, it works. Almost similar to lemuru. You just crush it up and take some sniffs at it, and it clears you out. It just clears you right out, and you get a free flow of air in and out. So it's really powerful. Just the scent itself, the aroma
Hmm.
itself, when you can feel it going in there.
So we're
So
going a
it
little bit
works.
deeper, right? Than lemuru. So the lemuru stabilizes the condition in the sinuses with the aroma. The basil actually takes out nasal worms. You know how you get sometimes kids, they scratch their butt and they get little worms, eggs in their nails, and then they stick it in their nose. So those eggs are transferred into the nasal passages and they get nasal worms. Sometimes adults get it too. So this herb with that strong aroma actually dislodges and eliminates the nasal worms in your nose. You can get parasites in your nose. So this is one of the few herbs that can go in there and actually take out nasal worms.
This
Are,
is an
are you
amazing one.
shocked yet?
Yeah, you're full of surprises tonight, Doc.
This is
This
our
is
people, man. This is our culture. This is us. This
And
is just
Ifa, you
us.
don't even need to have an infection. You can, like, on a normal day, you try it and you feel your breathing will be very light and smooth.
It's like a
Just
nasal purge,
yeah.
which you should do periodically anyway. You got COVID, you got all kinds of things going around that are airborne that can get lodged into your nose. So a basil aroma is very good for just clearing out those passages.
Yes,
Hmm.
excellent. Question: can you burn it like incense?
It's not really a burning herb.
Yeah, it's not like the
Yeah.
sage, right? It's not like the
No,
walalama.
no. It's
If you use
basil.
it, you have to just crush the leaves, and it does that. It has that effect just from crushing the leaves.
Yes, and it grows in abundance, so it's available to us at all times. Please don't disparage this plant. If you see it
It's not
growing in
alone.
your
It's not.
yard,
It doesn't like to be lonely. Clearly,
no, no,
No.
no,
this one
no, no,
doesn't
no.
like to be lonely at
It's
all.
it's a garinago for sure. It for sure. It needs company. It needs community. Yes, the basil needs community, and I'm
Next
not
thing you know,
talking
you could
about
have
other
one plant,
basil.
and next thing you know, you have a patch. Once you
Yes,
have
And
it there,
I
it
I
it'll be
notice
a
it
scratch.
grows. I notice it grows all over in my yard, everywhere, in the shade, under the house, in the
let it
sun.
grow.
It just grows everywhere.
Now, this show isn't long enough to go into the benefits of basil for the land, but there are critters in the roots of the basil that are good for the land. So it's just a good plant to have. And you notice that all of the plants that are part of our ethnobotany, that are part of the Garifuna ethnobotanical collection, are all good for different realms: body, mind, spirit, and land.
Wow.
Yeah, basil is one of our number ones. So for people who are embarrassed to grow basil, I know people who pull the basil all out of their land because they think it's common and lowly and poor. You have no idea. The scientific community reveres this basil as one of the most potent basils around. The reason it's not applauded as the medicinal basil is because this guy will not grow outside of your environment. If you take basil away from its people, he won't grow for you. But all the
You
other basils,
serious?
yeah, all the other basils, they're like, they grow for anybody. But this one grows for us.
Wow. That's interesting. That is quite interesting. And so many of us, I'm sure I'm not the only one that just saw it as something important to have in our food, but I never thought of it for like tea and all these medicinal properties. And this is we even though we use it mostly in our food, we're getting all of these medicinal properties
Exactly.
from consuming it in our food. It's so
And you're
important
preserving
to be in
and you're
our food.
preserving your meat. Yes. You're preserving your food.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot one thing that I have to say. It's not in the slides, but there's something called pesto, right? Which is, supposedly the Italians made it famous. It's their basil and their fancy basil that you are foolish enough to pay money for, to make this sauce. But you can make an even more delicious sauce with our own common basil. And you just take a bunch of basil leaves, a little coconut oil. You can use olive oil if you want, coconut oil, and some cashews, roasted cashew instead of pine nuts, because pine nuts are expensive.
Hmm.
So you take a little bit of, 4 or 5 cashew nuts, a little bit of oil, and some basil leaves, and you mash them up. You can do it in a mortar and pestle, or you can put it in your little bullet or whatever, and you make a sauce, and then you just toss that into spaghetti or noodles or anything instead of ramen noodles or whatever it is that
Hmm.
y'all eat, right? That meal, you can take regular noodles and toss it in there, and you would have one of the most nutritious meals on earth with
Wow.
all of the medicinal properties of basil. Use this common basil. Take the leaves and make a sauce with it. You don't have to cook it with pesto. You just mash it up. Google it. Look up the recipe for pesto, Pesto. And instead of using their expensive basil that you don't have any access to
Yeah,
and
you
their expensive seeds, use your cashew and your common basil and your coconut oil, and you are going to enjoy this food. Yeah.
I
And
see
that's,
some future shows that you
you
remember
do?
last year, right? See, it's
Yeah.
already been a year, by the way. People, it's been since what, February? It's been a year. I was going through the
Wow.
page, and we've been at this for a year, right?
Wow.
We are, we have such a powerful gift here. So we talked about people being able to share with us who are actually on the farms and growing these things, showing us what they have, what they've grown, right? So we have that. Definitely the opportunities will present themselves more and more as the year progresses. People will have the evidence to show that they've
Mm-hmm.
planted the things you've shared here, that you've been talking about, and this is the outcome, and this is how good they're looking, and all of that. So I'm looking forward to those shows. But I'm also looking forward to the shows when people prepare the meals, the teas,
Yes. The actual
right?
proof.
The
Yes.
proof,
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
The
where
proof.
Right.
they can talk
Yeah.
about that they use this thing in the way that you explained it's good for, and this was the outcome. So I'm hoping that our viewers would really keep that in mind and let us know, because we want this kind of discussion to be happening, where someone can come and say, yes, I heard this on Wachari. I knew certain things from my grandmother or my mother or growing up in my village. But then I learned so much more here, and I've been applying what you've been teaching, and this is what the outcome is for me. Those would make for some very rich discussion. So I'm making that open invitation right there for people to just let us know. Let us know about your plants. Let us know what you've been doing with your bassin. If you didn't know and you
Yes.
started to treat it with a little bit more love and attention, how did it react to you? Because the
Yeah.
plants they have character, they have spirit, and they respond to us and how we treat them, you know?
Yes. And they save us money. They can make us wealthy. Um, because there's so much we could do with them, so much nutrition, so much flavor that we
Mm-hmm.
can bring into our lives. Like you can make pizza with common basil. I took a bunch, well, I smuggled a bunch to the States to a friend of mine who has a pizza parlor on Christopher Street. Now, Christopher Street pizza is the best pizza in the world. I gave him my common basil. There is nothing greater than pizza made with our basil. I'm telling you.
Wow.
And you should
Wow.
try it here. You take a tortilla, you sprinkle some of that white crumbled cheese that the Mennonites make, and you put some basil leaves on top of that. Just put it on the comal. Oh my God. That's heaven.
I have to try that one, Doc. I
That's
have to
heaven.
try that one. That one
Yep.
makes me hungry right
That
now.
is, I'm hungry now.
That sounds like a delicious meal.
That
Yep.
is delicious. And it's just basil, crumbled Mennonite cheese, and a tortilla.
Tortilla.
Okay?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Mama is asking if it's true that it's good for kidney problems.
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. It's not a very potent kidney remedy, but it's good to include in your diet when you are dealing with a kidney that needs to come back, or when your kidneys need strength. Yes,
Mhm. So that
definitely.
brings me to this question.
Hmm.
As we talk about kidneys, um, the chanca piedra. That's the
Uh
name that
oh.
I'm familiar with. But
You
this is
keep
another.
doing this, Ifa. We talk about one plant and she go to the next plant. You see, now we got to do
You're not
chancapera.
getting away.
Now,
Listen, Doc. Listen, Doc. Let me just tell you in front of everybody. You're not getting away, Doc. Okay?
set me
You're not
free,
getting away.
girl.
You're not getting away. So every time you see it happens naturally though. This is a natural thing. We're talking about one herb and then it leads us to another one. So this is exactly how we end up with the next one for the
That
next show.
chancapera,
Right?
my God, that's the
Because
one
that's
that.
another one that's common in our communities as
Wow.
well.
Yeah. And it's so easy to heal so many diseases with chancapiedra. It's
Yeah.
it's
So
like we've
see,
been healing with chancapiedra for I don't know, it's thousands of years. It is the plant that God made to get rid of stones. I'm not taking credit for it. Our creator made this plant just to get rid of stones. In fact, in St. Lucia, they call it seed in back. Seed in back. Because when you look at the plant, the seeds are in the back of the plant. So this
hmm
is a good
Mm-hmm.
way to remember it. When you pick up the plant, you say, "Oh my God, why? What are these little balls? Those are the seeds, and they're in the back." It's also a plant that goes to sleep at night. So
Uh-huh.
in my grandmother used to call it dormilon, and she would say, "Go pick the herbs before he goes to sleep, because once dormilon goes to sleep, you can't pick them." That's the
yeah.
chancapiedra. Chancapiedra you got to pick up early in the morning after he wakes up when he opens his leaves.
Wow.
Now the little seeds in the back are the same size as kidney stones, bladder stones, liver stones, the same size. And that's God telling you, look, this is what this plant is for.
hmm
So we use the whole plant, but as a scientist, I found out what the active ingredient in chancapiedra is. In the root of the chancapiedra are the remnants of the organisms that coexist with the plant. It has a symbiotic relationship with a number of organisms, and it is the organisms that digest the plant, the root, and their excretion is what dissolves the stones.
Whoa.
So it's a whole symbiotic relationship there. It's like a whole community in the Chancapiedra that works together to heal humans.
Mhm.
And it's so easy to make. You can make it yourself. I mean, you cannot be damaged by it. If you have stones, it's a good plant to try out.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so next week we're looking forward to that PowerPoint.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah.
If you say so.
Because people, again, you see, we talk about these plants, right? But we don't know, people don't know what it looks like.
Oh,
And
okay.
I have a Chancapiedra story, right?
Mhm.
Because I was
Tell
not
us.
feeling I was not feeling well. I
Mhm.
was in excruciating pain. And so I was speaking to a friend of mine, and she said, maybe this might be a kidney issue that you're having,
Mhm.
right? So first order of business was coconut water, because
Mhm.
definitely that would have brought me some relief, which it actually did. But I don't want just relief. I want to be healed. I don't want to have
Mhm.
this problem. So I put I don't know how I learned about Chancapiedra. I don't remember how I got the name. But I put on Facebook, anybody knows this plant? Anybody can help me with this plant? Well, by the time I got to work, like maybe I put that on before I went to work, and then by the time I got to work, there was this whole bunch on my desk. And people were like, this is, it's in Hopkins, it's in Danguga, it's all over.
Yep.
It's all over the place. And of course, I prepared it. I think I called you, Doc.
Yes, you did. And I didn't have any because I had been making so much of it. I had over harvested all the chancapiedra around me. That's how there's like hundreds of patients. So they used up all my chancapiedra. Yeah, but I remember.
Well, it worked. It worked, Doc. And I have not had that pain anymore.
If I swear by chancapiedra because I have one working kidney. I'm one of those cases where eventually I'm probably going to need somebody else's kidney, but I'm hoping that my one can come back to life. But the only thing that keeps me going, because periodically I have to pass stones. That's just the way my system functions because the kidney can't really filter all of the solids and the gravels in my
Mhm.
blood. So I do get a lot of backup. I take Chancapiedra regularly, maybe once or twice a month. I do a regimen, and it's so beautiful because I remember that before Chancapiedra, before I came to Belize, it was inaccessible to me. So either 2, 3 times a month, I would pass stones, and it would be extremely debilitating and painful, where I was just incapacitated with pain. It would only last a day or so, but it would be so exhausting. It would disable me for an entire week. But now with the Chancapiedra, I don't even notice it. It just washes the gravel out. So it's not just for kidney stones, bladder stones, any kind of stones, or any kind of solids in your blood. And for the life of me, I don't understand why we have to continue to put our bodies through all of these invasive procedures just to get rid of stones when we
Mhm.
have a magical plant like Chancapiedra available.
Yeah, you have treated me with Chancapera before
Oh,
that.
that's right. You too.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
works pretty fine. Now I was good like what, 2 days,
Yeah.
and
And
I
then you
healed
got
the rest
mad
of the
because we
time.
ran out.
See, we are witness. We have testimonies. This is not just
Yeah,
some
yeah.
story
Two
that we're.
days in 2 days time, I was feeling
He
well,
was
and
a
then like
yeah.
another 6 days on
But then
small
I
doses,
didn't have
and
any
that's
more because I
finally
told you you came when I had harvested all of the chancapiedra.
yeah,
But then we found some more. In fact, I have a new batch now that I'm going to leave here for you, Marley, so that you can
yeah.
just take it. It's good to take prophylactically. I think once or twice a month we should take, a couple of nights of chancapiedra just to flush out the kidneys and the system because there's so much toxicity out here in the world. Just
Yes,
riding the
yes.
bus, you pick up toxins, and it's a detoxifier. But we'll
Mm-hmm.
talk more about it when
Yes,
next week.
definitely. Don't think that, next week's show, that is definitely going to be discussed.
Oh, you're wicked! You're wicked! You're wicked!
It's already set. It's already set. So you said that it's good for stones, and someone asked about liver stones.
Oh
So you
yeah,
get liver stones.
definitely. Yeah, liver
So
stones. Yeah.
someone is crediting your previous class that you did. I took doctoral herbal class in 2019, I think, and that's how I
Ooh.
learned about Chancapiedra. Lo and behold, I found it in my yard on my way to work, in the bushes,
Whoa.
everywhere. You see what I talked about, right? Once you talk about something and you get to know what it looks like, then you see it, you recognize it
Yeah.
everywhere. This is what
Then
our
I realize you
viewer is
have it.
saying.
And
Since
you
then, two
know,
family members and two friends have told me
yes,
they have kidney and gallstones, and I keep telling them about Chancapiedra. I take
yes,
some just to clean my urinary system. Very grateful,
right.
Dr.
Yes, yes. Just take it like regularly, not every day, but like maybe every 4 or 5 months or something, just so that, if you
Good
suffer
cleansing.
from a sluggish system, just do it like once or twice a month. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's a thank you. That is so beautiful. I had no idea. Yes, it does clean the urinary system, and I remember that class. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So we definitely have
You're
something
doing
to
good
talk
work,
about
Doc.
next
You're
week.
doing good work. Very good.
And I'm glad for the viewers. I have to give you all your
Yes.
props. This is what makes this so rich, right? Because
Mm.
it's a giving and a receiving. It's very reciprocal. And the questions you ask, the comments that you make, those things feed into the discussion that we have. And that's what's
Yeah.
been leading to the next herb. We know this is the next herb that's valuable to discuss because they're all connected. One way
Yes.
or the
Oh
other,
yeah.
they're connected, and they're all familiar to us in that they're a part of being Garifuna. They're in our communities, they're what we've been using traditionally. Some of us don't know what they look like and don't know all their uses. So discussions like this are so important, and we ask that you share it.
Mm-hmm.
When, you learn and you share. That's how more of us will know and appreciate the richness of what we have as Garinagu.
Mm-hmm.
It's by sharing. We learned it from our ancestors. We know that colonization, education created a gap, but we're bridging that gap now. So we don't have to stay in ignorance. We can get the knowledge. It's right here. Share the page. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you are
Mm-hmm.
tuned in and look back at shows that have passed. You want make it a family event. Or you want to engage some kind of stimulating discussion. It's only an hour. Turn it on, listen,
Mhm.
talk with each other, share the information. That's what we need to be doing as a people. We don't have to be sharing the negative vibes. You know how
Right.
people share those, you know,
Right.
violent or just negative videos or all the things that are not of the best.
Mm-hmm.
This is something to share because it's
Mm-hmm.
something positive and we need it as a people. Because we're talking about healing, we're talking about wellness, we're talking about Wachari, right? We're talking about what sustains us as a people. And these are not things we have to go far to find,
Right in the backyard.
right? They're right around.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, Doc, again,
Yes.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Doc.
Uh-oh.
Mhm.
We want moringa seeds, isn't that so? The farmers
Yes.
we need the moringa seeds to keep coming
Yes.
in.
True.
We
True.
have
True.
oil to make, people. You
Yeah.
can't be holding on to the seeds. You can't be leaving the seeds hanging out there to dry out. We need the
And right.
seeds.
Yep.
So tell us
True.
a little bit about that, Doc, so people know what what we're doing because we need them. We need the product.
And you know what? I forgiveness because I learned that most people don't know what the moringa tree looks like, and I took it for granted that they knew. So when I would ask people or call people if you have a moringa tree in your yard, in your neighborhood, they've never heard of it, they don't have any. And then I go to that community and they're full of moringa trees. So they really just don't know. So maybe we need to show more pictures or start pointing it out to each other or just Google moringa tree. But I know that's difficult because, the internet is not reliable for everything like that. But for those of us who can identify a moringa tree, it's got these long pods. It's also called a drumstick tree, So it has these long bean pods, kind of like looks like a bokud, but it's a light brown, right? And the leaves are like a vibrant green. So when these pods are plentiful and light brown, then you can harvest them. And inside there are these little brown seeds that have wings, white wings on them. So we are buying those seeds. You have to take them out of the pods and put them, in a bag or a container. And we are buying them for $5 a pound. There are drop-off sites in every guri from the communities. You just have to kind of stay in touch with who your representative is, who your Wachari representative is, and maybe that's something we should cover too in the next few shows, Ifa, to introduce people to who their Wachari representative is in the community, who can arrange for the seeds to be gathered like aggregate, and then we would arrange to pick up the seeds from your community to bring them to the pressing site, which is in where is it, Mark? In Mango Creek,
Mango Creek.
where we have the oil presses. Marley is in charge of the oil pressing unit. He also just recently underwent some extensive international training to work these state of the art oil cold pressing machines for this moringa oil, very special luxury oil. So we're calling on our communities to gather their moringa seeds and send them this way, um, through your representative in Wachari. Oh, who did this? Where'd you get that from? Can you show the seed? Go to the brown with wings.
Yes.
Hmm. We've had a lot of fun with the seeds and pressing them and gathering them, shelling them. It's just been so much fun. So yeah, so the pods.
You want to go
Keep
back to
going,
the
keep going,
seeds?
keep going. No, keep going till we get. I think I have a seed slide in there. So that's the moringa tree, so that you can learn to identify. Those are the green pods, which you can eat, by the way. There's a Go back to the seeds. Yeah, those are the seeds right there. Well, those are the roots, but we're not buying roots right now. We're buying seeds. And you see how they're the brown and they have these white wings? So that's how we're buying them, just like that. So you get them down to the seed, bag them up, put them in a sack, whatever quantity you have, and you would bring them to a weigh station, which you'll find out through us where that weigh station is in your community, and you will be paid at the weigh station for your seeds. And then they'll be transported to the oil pressing unit in Mango Creek, and we'll all be doing a nice supply chain.
Hmm.
So I
So
really
so
appreciate.
they you want the pods need to be brown, right?
I need the
Brown.
yeah, but I need the seeds. It's the seeds with the wings that we need. If you
Yes.
open the pod and the seeds there, right there, right there. Those are the seeds. When you open the pod, those seeds are in there. And each pod will have from 50 to 60 seeds in it. And I mean, it's not bad. Marley, some of the figures. Some people have made quite a bit of money that are bringing in seeds. You can make two, three, four, $500. I think we had a farmer payout of $600 this past month, just for bringing in seeds
The
and
product, yeah.
crops in the product. Yeah. So it's a good way to make money. It's an easy way to make money, and it's an honest way to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And this is ongoing nonstop. We always want to be collecting those seeds.
So
Excellent.
yes, we need those seeds. We're looking forward for people to bring in the seeds. Like Doc said, there's someone designated in your community as a drop-off site, and we'll find a way to get it to the way station if you can't get it to the way station here in Mango Creek. Yes, the oil presses are here waiting for the seeds.
And
Yeah,
it's
it's a
taken us,
good business.
yes, it's taken us a minute to, we're new. This is a startup. We've never done anything like this before. But it's something that can benefit everyone. You don't need to go to school and get an education to harvest seeds. It's something we can all do.
Mhm.
And it's easy money because those seeds would just drop to the ground and go to waste. But here is a way that it can sustain um, livelihoods.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very, very good thing. I'm very proud of the communities. The Wachari Enterprises board of directors is comprised of one representative for every Garifuna community in Belize. So maybe by the next couple of shows and a couple of shows, they're shy. And everyone is still getting their way stations together. So in the near future, we can present to you and introduce the representatives for your community, for your area. And then you'll know who it is that you are to contact. But really, they are getting in contact with you. So if you have moringa seeds, just give us a holler and then we'll direct you to who your representative is. But this is what we're doing.
Excellent.
Yeah. Thank
Excellent.
you, Ifa.
Well, this is the perfect way to wrap up our show for tonight. And thank you so much, Doc. Thanks to our viewers
Jeremy.
for your comments and for making Wachari what it is. So I'm looking forward to next week as we discuss Chancapiedra in much greater detail.
That's right. And for next week, I'll give more of my story from my
Yes.
treatment from that Chanka Pedra because there's
Oh,
more.
yes.
All right. So we're saying good night,
Ayo,
and
ayo.
I'm playing Ámuñegü again to the ending. Right? Ayo.
Sir, man.
Hearts,
Ayo.
hearts, hearts.
Gaba funasa anyuga wabute Ámuñegü. Gaba funasa ayanu hagari funanuma Ámuñegü. Gaba funasa aruma hanuma o Ámuñegü. Gaba funasa adugraha wawu Ámuñegü. Julu halida